So we were at a local competition, International Grand Ball in San Francisco at the Airport Marriott. My nipple comes out the whole time. Like, didn't feel it. Nobody told me, no one's your friend. It was so embarrassing. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to sit down today and just tell you guys more about my ballroom life. So if you want to know how I got into ballroom in the first place, I'll just put a link to that video below, so check that out. This will be basically all about my early competition years and how it definitely made me grow up way too fast. But let's just get into it. Basically, after I knew that I really wanted to pursue ballroom dancing, it was when I decided that I wanted to focus on just one style because there's so many different styles. So I decided to focus on the International Latin style after obviously observing now for a few years, dancing with my professional dance teachers. I really loved Latin the most, right? So the next step, honestly, is like I couldn't dance Pro-Am for the rest of my life, obviously, even though I was comfortable with my dance teachers and they were really good. So it wasn't like, I just had to work on me. But basically, I tried out with this guy named David Bruckner. David Bruckner was a guy that I would always see compete in ballroom dance competitions, like the local circuit. So we're talking like just in San Francisco, right? So he would always dance with his teacher, and his teacher's name is Christine Belanger. She was kind of a goddess to me, okay, you guys, because I was like, she had the right spray tan on, she had the lashes that were like super long, like those, what are they called? Tarantulas. Christine Belanger was an icon in my world, and I loved the way that she danced. And David was kind of like the hot, like single guy looking for a partner at the time, and he was about 4 years older than me, and so I was like, this guy's never gonna dance with me. I've got way less, like I don't even have the type of experience that this guy has. Anyway, cut to Matthew Roman and Christine, my teacher and David's teacher. They actually competed together as a professional couple. So they ended up talking, like when Matthew thought that I was ready, he's like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and ask Christine what she thinks. Christine's like, you know what? Doesn't hurt. They should try out. So right away, David and I had lots of chemistry. I was 13 years old and I looked like I was 20. Like I grew up way too fast. In the ballroom world, it's not just because it's ballroom, it's in my genes, obviously, but I was fully developed. TMI, but I got my period when I was 9. So yeah, 13, 4 years in. Big boobs, curves, and a nice little booty. I would be competing in like the junior category, right? Junior category is like, I would say between ages 12 and 15. And you had like 12-year-olds, like here, you had Julianne Hough that was like even shorter, Mark Ballas. They looked like I literally could step on them. And like, that's how short they were. Only a couple years younger than me. Derek Hough is only a year younger than me, and he looks the same, except he has a smaller body than now. But yeah, so all of us clearly grew up together. I just happened to have had a lot of dance partners. My mother was kind of the mom who I guess would, if my partner was from out of the country, sponsor them. You work for me, I pay for your dance like life, basically, because ballroom dancing in its own is not a cheap sport. So like, it looks glamorous, but it's always held at a Marriott hotel, and all the rhinestones and stuff that you see, mostly like the person wearing it probably did all the rhinestoning themselves because it's so expensive. So unless if you're top 6 or 7 in the world, you're not making money. You're spending money. So you're paying for entries into the competition, you're paying for flights, hotel, everything you can possibly imagine. And you don't have to be rich to dance, but you have to cough up the money. So you'll see a lot of like Russian kids, right? The Russians were always the best dancers. And then their parents would be working day in, day out, whether as a seamstress or business person, whatever it is, but they're just working to pay and support for their kids' passion in life, which is ballroom dance. So I always compare a ballroom dance competitor's life to an Olympian's life. Very much, like, you have your coach, right? Your coach is always like, most of the time, if he's especially a former world champion or whatever, they're very strict when it comes to your body. Clearly, ballroom, you can't be, out of shape in one of these dance costumes that reveal everything that you also now see on Dancing with the Stars. Your hair needs to be slicked back. You need to have the right pair of heels, which costs money. You need to have long nail extensions. Don't have them now, but I definitely did. You can use them as weapons too. But we'll talk about floor craft later. And you know, to make a costume, let's say, just to like sew the base of a costume. Like if you go back, my very first partner, David Bruckner, my very first dance costume, my mother didn't want to pay, which is totally understandable, but didn't want to pay for someone to rhinestone. Like you could save thousands of dollars if you just rhinestone your own costume, as opposed to like maybe a costume would go for like $6,000, let's say, rhinestoned everything, like here you go, it's ready to go. Or you get them to build the base, which is maybe like not even $1,000, and you rhinestone, but you need to use real Swarovskis. So David Bruckner goes, oh, we'll rhinestone. And I was like, what? And then Christine's like, yeah, this is not that glamorous, Cheryl. Like it looks all glamorous, but the work and the blood, sweat, and tears that go behind all the glitter and behind all the rhinestones is intense. So I rhinestoned my costume. Cut to, I was traumatized because our very first dance competition, it was like a night session. It was a night competition, and only the good competitors compete at nighttime. So we were at a local competition, International Grand Ball in San Francisco at the Airport Marriott. My nipple comes out, and the whole time, like, didn't feel it. Nobody told me, no one's your friend. People, nobody is your friend. Kidding. And it was just like, it would just slowly, like it would be, the first dance is cha-cha. You saw this little dark spot. You're like, oh, maybe she put too much tan right here. Cut to samba. At the end of samba, it's like half nip. Clearly my tan wasn't dark enough because you saw the difference in the contrast between the nip and the tan. And it was so embarrassing. And like, I think from that point on, I had a rhinestone encrusted bodysuit that I would interchange the skirts. I was like, oh, this is a great idea. I'll just never do that again. So now I rhinestone canvases, and you can check out my Diamond Art Club paintings at, I'm just kidding. The reason why we would go to England every summer is because back then, don't know the timeline because my timeline's always off, but it was definitely in the 90s, maybe late 90s, early 2000s, no, 90s. Anyway, that's where it was. That's the epitome. That was like the center of international Latin and ballroom dancing. You better be in England, living in Norbury, shitty town, horrible weather, and that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna live there and you're gonna just coach with the best. And so people would just go there every summer, and we would be rehearsing in a little rehearsal hall called Semley for all my competitive dancers out there. It smelled of cigarettes, sweat, and Old Spice. Yummy. So when you're in the ballroom world, you always end up with your dance partner. I don't care who you are. Only way that's not happening is if your partner's gay. Even though sometimes it does happen, you know, it's just like, it's very incestual. Wait, how do you say it?
Incestuous.
Incestuous. Oh, God. Okay, so I ended up dating my dance partner. Why not? Like, this was my world, and this is the world I was living in. I didn't tell mommy dearest because mom would have freaked out, because technically David was older than me. We don't need to say the age. Whatever. I was an old 13-year-old soul, and we traveled the world, the four of us. My mom obviously couldn't come with us to England, but like there were moments where she would come, but then she had to go back to work. So it'd be like different, like, you know, my mom would come, my dad would come, my stepsister wasn't much of a guardian, but she would come, and we would be living in this little flat in England above international dance shoes, all the dance shoes we basically were on Dancing with the Stars. And all there was to eat in England would be either 7-Eleven, like those little sandwiches, or Pizza Hut. And then I would pack, like, this was like already my second time back to England, or third time. I'd just pack a full suitcase of like dried pastas from like Auntie Annie's or whatever it's called. And then we would go to the gym, the local gym in England, and we'd just be on the treadmill for hours at a time. And we were constantly just burning calories, barely eating healthy. But this is what they expect, you know? And when you see all these fit dancers next to you, and like I said, I grew up way too fast, so I already had curves, more probably curves than I have now, and you need to look lean and thin, and that's the only way that you'll even get noticed. And so that's what I did. I dedicated myself to just always looking good, and I was very aware of my body at such a young age. Now, is this a healthy thing? I don't think so. Would I have my kids ballroom dance? Absolutely not. Like, this is not okay. So don't get any ideas. Okay, so basically we have this huge competition, okay, it's called Blackpool Dance Festival, held in Blackpool, England, like the Disneyland of California, except their version of Disneyland is different. Fun, that's like their Jersey Shore over there, okay? So you've got like people with no teeth, God bless them. on the sidewalk of all the Pizza Huts you could possibly think of, rides that people die on. No, I'm kidding. And you got throw up. So you got like the throw up on the sidewalks, and then you've got the beautiful winter gardens. This beautiful, beautiful like opera, like cathedral looking amazing building there that has so much history. And that's where we are basically competing once a year. Blackpool Dance Festival, anybody in the world can enter, which means that like just to get through one category, like let's say the amateur Latin where me and David competed, and same with Giselle and Jenya, it would take days. You had like an entry of like thousands of different couples from all over the world, and the goal is to get ranked, which means in order to get ranked, you have to at least make the quarterfinal, which is the top 24. Cut to, we were out the second round, you know, but like just that feeling of like, there's a certain soundtrack that the orchestra plays at all times for the last 75 years. Like it doesn't change. And it's like, it's just, there's history. And this is something that like you only wish for, is to make like the top 7 and to be in that final. Basically, you win nothing as an amateur. When you're an amateur, you make no money. That's illegal. We have a federation. You're not supposed to be making money as an amateur dancer. Only time you make money is if you're a world champion or if you make like the top 7 in the professional Latin, which is something that like, it's very rare, right? Top 7 out of all these hundreds and thousands of different dance couples. Think about it. You've got like 29 or 30 maybe couples on the floor all at once, and you need to pick numbers, and you only have a minute and a half. So you've got all these judges from around the world. Who do you think they're going to pick? Either the really tall guy, my partner, or their dance couple or someone that they've taught. So it's really like you need to get noticed. So every time you're in you're at a dance competition, whether it be a local competition or in Blackpool, you're dressed to it's like the Oscars every single night. You're wearing gowns. People are wearing gowns like trains, and like it's about getting enough attention to where people want to look at you twice. So clearly, not only was body image an issue, but it was like, am I pretty enough? Am I doing this? Am I, you know, it's nasty. Just like any business, I guess, right? Here I am. I'm still like in my teenage years. I'm traveling the world alone. And not only do I have to like look the part, which is an adult at 13, but I also have to act the part and dance the part and be mature when handling like different dance coaches that would teach us. Like for instance, I was kind of known as this like, there's like this whole stigma about Americans coming to England and how lazy they are and they don't care and blah, blah, blah. But like, so therefore I had to really prove to these European dance coaches that I was there to, you know, this was my life. And, you know, I would always be known as that girl that would just kind of like, oh, she's lazy. Oh, she's lazy. But really it's just my demeanor. Like I've always said, I'm not a bitch, I'm just shy. And that was true for sure. And like, I just, you know, you have to kind of adapt. You have to in the ballroom world. Like you have to pay your respects to your elders, but you also have to pay respects to the dance coaches, these like old world champions, retired world champions. And it's really like, if you don't stand out, you're wasting your money. So it's like, it's very important to travel, to get to Europe as much as possible. I mean, a lot of these kids actually quit school just to follow, you know, their dancing path and journey. And my mom, thank God, didn't let me quit school, but I did convince my mother that I should take a year off after graduating from high school, which I ended up doing. But another thing that we did, another reason why I grew up way too fast, was because I had to earn my own money. My mom would only cough it up so much. And of course, my mom and I are the same person, so we fought a lot back then. She was very controlling, and she wanted to control like every single part of my dancing career because she was funding it. Now, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. Yes, you're coughing up the money, but like you gotta like let your kids just soar and let them spread their wings. Cut to, we got in this really big fight one day, and she was also supporting David, my partner at the time. So she's like, you know what? I'm not paying for your tickets to England. Out of luck, sister. So we were like, you know what? You're not going to stop us. Desperate times requires for desperate measures. That's not the saying. What's the saying, Caitlin?
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
Desperate times calls for desperate measures. Still don't know what that means, but that's fine. We are in our Adidas track suits, you know, the ones that have buttons on the side. And one person was holding a boombox, because this is how long ago it was for all y'all kids watching this. We were doing jive, like in our Capezio shoes with our Adidas track suits on, and we're like having someone hold up a card, like a huge cardboard like box, basically saying, please support these two dance couples. They just want to live their dream and they want to be able to compete in Blackpool, England. And we made so much money. I was like, yo, man, this is why whenever like I doubt myself or I feel like, you know what, I'm gonna be broke if I was like, no, I'm not. I can just dance in the middle of the streets and make thousands of dollars, because that's how much we made. We made like close to $2,000 in just one weekend. I mean, whoa, people loved it. We did actually pay for our own flights and probably had a little bit left over for some nasty food and stuff at 7-Eleven in Norbury. Oh, another thing is, okay, so basically, long story short, David and I broke up. I needed to find a new partner. I convinced Alan Torrance-Burke, which is somebody that you will hear of basically throughout my whole life journey, that you can check out on my channel. Make sure you hit that notification bell so that it tells you anytime I upload a new video. Anyway, my coach Alan took me under his wing. I needed to find a partner. And as a dance coach of that caliber, you're traveling all over the world constantly. You're never in one place for longer than a week. This was during that break after I told my mom I wanted to take a year off after high school. Graduate high school. Alan becomes my coach. I'm literally like his little muse, and we just go all over the world. He teaches in Moscow. I went to Moscow. Only thing I remember there is how cold it was and TGIF Fridays. Then we went to Denmark. Then we went to Finland. Like, we went to all these places because he was booked, fully booked, from like people that flew him in just to take lessons with this guy, right? It was worth it. But yeah, I was a world traveler, and I just graduated from high school. So mind you, I've already traveled the world at like 18. Craziness. Started smoking cigarettes, drinking espressos. You are who you hang out with. So that's who I was. So I hope this answered a lot of your questions about the ballroom dance world that I grew up in. I always say that I'm just like a cat who has lived 9 lives, and this was just one of them, I have to say. But it's definitely bittersweet, because while I missed out on a ton of, like the normal middle school and teen life, I became so well traveled and had all of these incredible experiences before I turned 18. I can't believe it, which a lot of people just can't say, So let me know in the comments below if you want to hear more about my competition life, all leading up to being cast on Dancing with the Stars. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any videos from me. Sending you all so much love and light. Bye.